Okay, I just did a video now on the market close, Friday's market close in the markets. So I'm not going to go through anything in detail. Before I go through the portfolio, silver and gold miners, starting with the seniors, just very quickly on the dollar. I just feel like we've come down a lot. We're bouncing. We're going to go kiss 101. I think we'll actually fail around 100.8, maybe even 100.7, just visiting prior support and then failing. That's what I think is going to happen with the dollar. Markets, I just think they're going to go sideways down, actually down next week, at least initially. So, but markets don't always affect the GDX, the miners. I mean, sometimes they go down with the miners. Sometimes the miners will go up because specifically the market's going down because there's some fear out there and gold is catching a bit. So I'm not going to cover the markets. I already did in my previous video, and I don't think they affect the miners as much as the dollar. But the point is, the dollar, I think, do expect it to go up next week, Monday, Tuesday, and then fail and then roll back down towards the later part. And who knows, it could just not even rally and go down. The point is, short, medium, and long term, I think the dollar goes down, actually. I don't think I've ever said that. Very bearish the dollar. I don't expect any news to come out to really change that thesis, at least for the next couple of trading days. So dollar, at best, a small rally, but otherwise down we go. That will obviously help keep gold up. Gold, silver, and the miners. Interest rates, I also don't think they'll affect too much. They've come down since the CPI data, like the dollar. They had a bounce, but they didn't. It's quite a decent bounce actually on Friday because they were oversold. I do expect them to go up a little bit more, maybe, but with the dollar, the dollar also going up, it could help, but then come back down again and test this support and not crack it straight away. But if we go up for 1 or 2 days and then come back down, overall, it's a sideways move. It's nothing major, no breakout or breakdown. If anything, they could actually break down a little bit. I just think it's too early for them to test their highs and run. Maybe not the 1 year. The 1 year is always capable of doing, of splitting from the rest. And I could see the 1 year flagging as old high and the 2 year just drifting sideways. But I don't expect any crazy moves from yields until the next major CPI or FOMC meeting, So with all that said, let's go check out gold and silver in the miners. Now, gold, silver, with what I've just said, I expect it to just drift sideways. It could go a little lower, if the dollar starts to rise and test 101 and fail there, and interest rates maybe rise a little bit more with the dollar. So it could venture down, but I think it will have a decent close. I still think we're going to be flagging up here, 1950 or even higher. I summarize that as sideways action, not down, but not necessarily up, no breakout yet. So sideways for 1 or 2 days. And actually, then I do think we'll go higher. Silver, just so strong. I expect it to really be like gold down here, but here we are. So if we do have any downside action because of the dollar and rates going up a little bit, we could see silver come back down to the low 24s, 24, 24.20 at the lowest I can see. But then, then we curl and go back up with gold. And then, I think silver will resume its outperformance and actually venture up to 25.5, who knows, even 26. This is really strong stuff. I think that signals the will to be at 26. And it's bullish to see silver outperform gold, just as it's bullish to see the GDXJ outperform the GDX, which is not really the case. The GDX and GDXJ are basically the same. Now, looking at the miners, they found resistance here. I think they do want to go a little lower. Look at that close low of day, also closing at Thursday's low. So for me, the miners are underperforming the metals. Not the most bullish price action, but I think it's just hit resistance, So, and I don't know how much the markets will affect the miners. I'm really not sure. It can be either way any day. At the moment, I'm just not sure. But, I think we could drift a little lower, a little bit lower, just go a little bit lower, 31.5-ish maybe, but then rally up a little bit. And, after 1, 2, 3 days, we're back up where we are, if we do actually flush a bit. So in the immediate short term, maybe a little bit lower. GDXJ also a little bit lower. Didn't close at low of day like the GDX though, huh? So GDXJ is outperforming. That's slightly bullish. But again, if the GDX is starting to crack and go a little bit lower, then GDXJ kind of has to follow suit, maybe 37.5. And then I'd like to see a nice rally and it closes high off its low. And again, the next day we're back up here. So the next 1, 2, 3 trading days, maybe a little bit lower, but then back up here. a nice sort of big cup and then the handle being formed, and then looking for that massive move up here with silver going to 26 and gold basically going for 1980/2000, you know, going up here and then bam, 2000 and 2020, etc. So I am immediate short term a little bit bearish, but healthy bearish, because then 1 or 2 days later, you know, I expect us to actually rally. I hope that's clear. Let's check out the portfolio. I haven't even looked at each miner in great detail. Newmont, look at this, a bit like the GDX closing their low of day. It makes sense. Newmont makes a major part of that index up. So this suggests it wants to carry on. You know, when you close at low of day, it's only because we ran out of time. So Newmont should go a little lower, also close below 45. I don't know. We're not going to go down here. I'm sorry. I refuse to accept it to go to 44. That would just be too much of a move down for such an important stock, which makes up the most important ETF regarding miners. So I reckon we'll go, I don't know where we'll go. You know, we've just looked at GDX, the gold, silver, the dollar. I'd be looking at those charts more than Newmont actually to know when the low is in. But I've got nothing to add to Newmont. It's my heaviest holding. I'm a little overweight. I got a bit too much in it. So I don't mind it going down at all. It would be healthy. And then, yeah, like I just said, I expect it to resume its move back up and then move up. 47 should be minor resistance. Not really. I think we would just start to hit this descending because we've got major stuff coming. You know, we've gold at 2000. I'm sorry, but I think the first resistance actually will be this descending. It would act as resistance. I'm sorry, but it should. And then sideways and then break out. Let's see if we can, you know, close above 50 and run. We've got a lot of a move up to do here on Newmont. Sorry, but it's worth a lot more than where it is. So I'm very happy to hold what I hold. So yeah, support 44. Don't think we get there, but we'll go up. And to be honest, next major resistance in the medium term would be this descending. And obviously it depends when that happens to determine what price it would be, because the time element comes into play. Agnico-Eagle did not close at low of day. Very good. Really, probably my favorite stock out of all the seniors. That doesn't mean it's got the heaviest upside. It just doesn't have much downside. Good dividends, just really, really sound company. This one I expect just to flag here, not even go down too much. Even if the market goes down, I mean, the miners go down, golds, don't expect it to go down too much. And I expect it to end up, you know, closed, even on the bearish day, probably above 52. And then essentially just crack, you know, and run towards 54, and then we'll see what happens. But this one I just expect sideways up, close of day, sideways and up. So Agnico looks great, really good actually up here. Not that obvious where resistance would be here, 54 or 55. This sort of zone here is not too sure. Maybe it's this line here where they connect to, but you know, I see us trading in the high 50s pretty soon. Barrick Gold, bit like Newmont, close at low of day. To be honest, this one has not moved up as much as it should, but it's a really, I mean, it's one of the top 3 senior stocks. You know, when you think of gold producers, you are immediately thinking about Barrick Gold. I mean, this is the one even, what's his name? Warren Buffett invested in. But yeah, close low of day, can't ignore that. I think support should be this breakout line. So I expect 1720 to be support. If we get there, we could actually get there, seeing how close that is. And I do see the dollar rising a bit for 1 or 2 days, so we could get down here. That would be a good buy actually. Will it close this gap? I don't think we'd get there. I know gaps like to be closed, but I'm sorry, I don't see that unless there's a really big move down or massive move up in the dollar rather. But otherwise, great buy. We should be going all the way up into the 20. We should be aiming at 20 pretty soon. So Barrick Gold, pretty surprised how weak that rise has been. And the low of day close is not the best actually, now that I see that. Pan American Silver, this one is strong. Also broke out of the descending, ventured on Friday, which was not exactly the greatest day for gold. Or the miners, right? But look at that, we made a new high, so that's a nice sign. We actually ventured to new highs above 16, closed pretty close to it's probably the best close we've had, aside Thursday's close. For me, Pan America looks really good actually. On the way down, we have the retest of the descending, which would coincide with the gap fill. But I don't see that happening because that would be a big move down in the miners and silver. Actually, if silver has a big drop, then back to, what is it, 24, it could actually, no, I'm sorry, that would be too much of an ask. I do think that the descending, where would it be? No, it's just too strong. I mean, compared to Newmont, Agnico, and Barrick Gold, Pan America definitely outperforms. Now, it's more of a silver stock, so that makes sense. Silver's been very strong. But I just feel like, why wait? You know, why take the risk of it coming all the way down? It might not get there. You know, look at the upside. Upside's huge, downside maybe fills the gap, you know. But we're so close to the lows that, I mean, where it is now, it's the risk reward. I mean, look, just zoom out. Look at Pan American Silver. Beautiful stuff. You know, we are at the lows where we are. The difference between the low 14s and 16, what is it? It's 10%. The gap is 5% away. I mean, that would be a good buy. Don't get me wrong. That'd be a very good buy, but I don't think we'll get there. It's been very strong, flagging all the way up here. And the move to go all the way up, just to get to the next resistance lines, whether it's 17 or 1850, 15, 20, 25%, it's beautiful. So Pan American Silver has a lot of upside, and the downside, very strong support if we even get there. Wheaton also took out as descending, also like Pan American Silver, had a nice day on Friday, despite the I don't want to say the strength of the dollar, but you know, the fact that the dollar stopped going down. So nice strength, outperformance compared to the others. And I think its move has just begun. It's just a bit late, and we should be going high. Now, Wheaton is a bit of a royalty play. I don't expect the biggest moves. You know, if you compare like how much it moved to its old high, 30%, you take any other stock. Okay, I took probably the wrong one there. Let's just take let's take Barrick Gold, which is also a massive beast. 30% move for Barrick Gold is I mean, look at the old high, it's 80, almost 100%. So for me, Wheaton is not something to invest too much in because, I mean, it's a safe play. It's like a defensive royalty senior. It's not going to just go down all of a sudden, but you know, I'm not going to throw extra in there. If I want to be aggressive, I'll be aggressive elsewhere. But I do see it rising, you know, sideways move. If it goes down, honestly, 44 should act as support. And since I don't see the miners or gold going down too much, if we do go down, 44 might end up being support. But yeah, I expect that to grind basically sideways up like the others. Goldfields closed at low of day. This one, you know, I really like this one. This is a very good stock. The thing is, I don't see much upside. A bit like Wheaton. If I zoom out, you know, even I take into account the old highs, we're pretty much there. I mean, you know, how much of a move to get to the old high, and you expect resistance at 17, 18, you know, 15%. The one thing about Goldfield is it does move quite a lot. You know, like Friday, 22% is pretty good. The other day, like 8%. It was one of the big movers. So it moves a lot. But I think there's pretty big resistance not too far away because it's the old highs. And again, I just expect more moves in other stocks. So Goldfield, it's one of my top candidates to sell, to completely close my position and just disperse those proceeds into more aggressive silver medium stocks like First Majestic, Fortuna, and maybe a bit of Barrick, you know, so some more senior defensive ones and then some more aggressive medium silvers. So overall, I would squeeze more upside without being too aggressive and risking too much downside, if you know what I mean. So Goldfields, but let's just cover the support and resistance. This one doesn't count anymore. The descending, we completely broke out of that. If we go back down, hard to tell. I suppose this is a zone, 14.5. Maybe retest of the descending, the gap fill. I would say gap fill, retest of the descending, and maybe 14.5, if you see what I mean. But again, I would be watching, you know, GDXJ, or actually GDX for this. I'll be watching the dollar. Yeah, maybe interest rates, I don't know. Gap fill, let's just do the low gap fill. So if I had to, but I wouldn't be buying actually. For me personally, this is my own personal situation. I wouldn't be buying. I would just be selling the rips. And I think I already sold a little bit. And I honestly, I've forgotten where I sold. I think I sold the 14.99 small trim. And then on this day, I think I sold a little bit, but not high of day. I think my next sell is here, 15.99, and then another trim here. And if we go even higher, I close the whole position, because by then we're pretty much at the highs, and I just don't see, it'll keep going, don't get me wrong. But again, I've covered it, you know. I think I can squeeze more upside without having more risk by dispersing it into some silvers and Barrick gold. So otherwise, gold fields, I would say the support is 14.5, then a retest of the descending, and then if we do go lower, into the gap, maybe just before the gap actually starts. You know, sometimes it fails to enter the gap, and then it's, so I just put those two lines. So I would machine gun my way in, if you really wanted to. Okay, Max, silver, weak, horrible. This one with Goldfields are the ones that I'm selling. And I remember looking at it thinking, should I sell? Nah, it's just too weak. It needs to go up more. And it's just so weak on the way up. It's so weak. I fear that if there's a move down, it'll go all the way back down to its low. So 10.51 would be support, but I really wouldn't even buy it. I just don't like Max Silver. This is the one stock in my gold and silver mines that is a senior or a medium tier, let's say, that I just don't like. I just was hoping that it would go up more, and my plan was to sell it at the descending, you know, here-ish, but it's just not even getting there at the moment. So very weak stuff. Now hopefully it just sort of bases a little bit. I won't be buying this, so I mean, I'm not going to cover the buy zones. For me, it's really the low down here, 10.51 or 10.61, if you really want to buy it. But otherwise, I'm just hoping that we grind sideways and it does make a late move up, and then I'll sell probably half the position here, even though I believe miners should be all the way up here. I just feel like other miners will make more of a return on my money. So hopefully I sell here, and then I can buy some other miner that's retracing, depending on what's happening at the time. So Mag Silver, don't like it, but and for that reason, I would sell the earliest strong resistance, which I see is 12.49. Okay, Aris Mining. I used to call it Gran Colombia, but it's Aris Mining. I actually bought this one late, what I thought was late on the day. Look at this, Thursday the 13th. You see, it's not really up much at all. Just look at any other stock. Let's say EXK. Where's Thursday? Look what happened on Thursday look where we are. We're all the way up here for EXK. It's already made a massive move. And I was just looking at Aris Mining, which is one of my favorites. And what's that doing? That's just here. It's where it's been the whole last 2-3 weeks. I thought, okay, well, everything's going up. Let me just add to that. So I added to it, and then the next day it squeezed up. And now it's revisiting, let's say, resistance from here. If it keeps going down, then let's say 10.40, it's probably 10.45 should be a buy. But I don't see it going down too much more, actually. I think it's done a bit of a late breakout, and it should be basing form of resistance to act as support, which is where we are. So I expect this just to go sideways and then go higher and try and test 3. Don't think this really counts as a gap zone, but yeah, I just expect it to go sideways and then up, and then I might sell what I bought late down here there, you know. So that would be just a little trade of 20%. Nice. And then my core holding, which is what I've held the whole time on this drop, I expect that to gain in value as this breaks out of the descending. Because if I zoom out, this thing is at its low. It's got a long way up to go. So this is just a little trade for psychology, you know, just to make money whilst to pass the time. But also because I thought it was quite an easy move, a late breakout. Sometimes some of these little illiquid stocks, this is not so illiquid that it's like a junior that just you can't count on its moves. You know, sometimes juniors, they're so illiquid, they just don't even go up when the rest of the sector is running 40%, and they just drop, and they're horrible stocks. I'll get to that later. I just want to delete all my juniors on any pump. If there's any pump, I'm just going to close them all. I know at that point, that's when they start to rally, but I don't care. I'm done with those days. I don't need to trade absolute illiquid juniors. I don't know enough about them. I don't want to follow their story. They've all got these great stories, and I just prefer these more established names that are liquid, that I can trade. you know, that are more, I want to say credible, but you know, it's just more obvious to time the entries, the exits. And this is one of them, is, you know, a bit more credible than the juniors. And so, yeah, that was a late call, but it was good. Here we are retracing. I expect some sideways up move. I don't expect it to go lower, but if it does, then low 240s should be a buy. So that's Aris Mining. Now let's look at the more silver medium tiers. That's what I call these, from Fortuna all the way down to Discovery. Very nice stuff. Look at that. We held this low here. I actually thought we were going to go lower when we were down here, but Fortuna has outperformed all the other silver stocks that I've held on the way down. And yeah, you know, look at this big move up, close above descending, still rising. You can see I did trim this one. I think 263, 262. I missed the high of day. I was actually at 365, but it didn't get a fill, so I had to drop it a little lower, 362 or something, whatever, same thing. So this is cool. I expect to go a little lower when the DXY goes up, if it goes up, but that's what I think is going to happen. But pretty much hold 350, you know, so I expect a little bit of a drop sideways and then up. And as we go up, I'll be selling maybe just before 4, like 394 something. And then if it does squeeze above 4, I'll be selling just here, 418, 419, out, and then I'm done. The whole move's done. And if we start to break out even more, then great. Sit back with some popcorn and just sell every horizontal level I have here. Just machine gun. 449, this one I'd probably sell. I know the way I sell. Out. It keeps going. Okay, 499. Out. It keeps going. Okay, 449. Out. Always 1 cent under the obvious level. And if you think there's a bit too much resistance, instead of 449, I'd do 444. I'd just do 5 cents less. But yeah, this one I expected just to go sideways down a little bit and then up, as long as the general thesis works, whereby the dollar goes up a little bit and then flushes to new lows like 97, 95 on the DXY index. And obviously gold and silver rally. But obviously it also depends how the market reacts and how that impacts the miners. That's also a factor worth considering. So that's Fortuna. I'm not going to cover any more moves down. I would just say if it does go lower than 330, you can see that was sort of a resistance zone. So, and that would coincide with the retest of the descending. So, but I don't think we'll get there. Coeur d'Alene, this is a special guest for me. This one here is, wait, I just noticed a descending. Don't know if that's whatever. No, you know what? I don't care. It doesn't really matter. This one here is one that should rally like crazy. It hasn't done it so far. Obviously, it's gone up a little bit. It hasn't really done that minus 20% in one day that I know it can do it. But I think it's underperformed so far. I know what it's capable of. I know that next resistance is 330, 329. I've got a small sell at 329. Haven't sold any so far because I expect more. But if we do have some sideways down action followed by a massive breakout in the miners, this thing will run. This thing will be the biggest mover out of all the gold and silver stocks that I watch. I know I have a few little silver stocks that can go up 40% in a day, but you know, the next day they're down 38%. So I don't care about those. But this one here, this is the kind of one that could really run. And I'm seeing 330, 360, and then 4, and then 430 and 450, etc. I actually know these levels kind of by heart because I'm used to this stock. I know where it very often ends up trading. Well, I think I know 4 is, I don't even think it will hang around near 4. It's a psychological number. So let me just put in the levels to make it obvious. That's what I see on the upside for CDE as resistance. At the moment, it's underperforming, but maybe it just needs a little bit more of a move up in the miners and the silver price for investors to say, okay, that's it, I'm in. Because when you zoom out of this one, and this one has problems, you know, there are fundamental problems. I think it's I don't know, the balance sheet isn't perfect. You know, jurisdiction isn't ideal, but if the silver price goes up, the margins, this thing can move up. I've seen it, you can see it happen. So let's but otherwise on the way down, I would hate it to see it go down, but I know it can happen. Then, you know, just under 3, let's say 290, 123, that should be support. If it goes lower than that, then okay, 270. I wouldn't want to see that. Yeah, but yeah, I'm really concerned more on the upside because I'm pretty bullish. So that's what I expect. EXK, look at this compared to CD. Total outperformance, beautiful move. You could say it's even better than Fortuna. I don't know. It's a close competition there. I think it is outperforming. I mean, from the lows, this thing, 25%, that's pretty good. I did nibble this one out because I just saw that. You know, I also noticed that GDX and GDXJ were at a level. This is classic stuff. GDX and GDXJ were at a level. You've seen the level. They're touching resistance. EXK is touching this area. I can see why. So I nibbled a little bit out, just under 350. I forgot where, 344, 345, and there you go, done. Now I've sold this. If we go lower, I can buy it back. If it goes higher, then that's always my thesis. I just machine gun. So imagine between here and here, I make $300, $400, $500. That's how much I can take out. That's free cash I've just made. So you've always got ammunition to sell if a stock goes up. And you can never really be too upset if you sell. Now, on the way down, if we retrace a little bit because of the dollar going up, then this zone, 330, 331. If it goes lower, I don't see that happening too much. To be honest, I would leave it because I would have already bought 330. But if it goes significantly lower, then 3. And by $3, I mean 301, 302, 303, even 306. I'd buy that because this one has shown me it's ready to go up with the miners. So I'd be more willing to buy this one than CDE, even though CDE looks like it's got more percentage upside. So EXK, I really like what I see. Nibbled a tiny bit out already on the way up here at the high. So I'll buy that much back down here. And if we go lower, I'll buy more. First Majestic, finally out of the abyss. Look at this one. This is a senior silver. This is well known. Everyone knows First Majestic. Now, on the way up, it's hard to tell. I mean, $7 should be resistance. It's a round number. But over here, you don't see it act like support or resistance too much. So I think I put a sell in around 694 because of this candle here. But otherwise, this area here, I've identified a resistance. But at the moment, I'm looking for a move down because I think dollar will go up. If we go down, I think just above $6, maybe this candle here. So 620 could act as support, not very strong support, but $6 should be much stronger support. I just don't think we're going to get there. So here's just a wait and see what happens to the ETF, the dollar and the gold and silver. But on the way up, I've identified basically 720. It's not that easy to judge this one, but otherwise I zoom out and I see the massive descending, and that's not too far away. So I just hope to see a squeeze here. You know, this one here has really been oversold, so just prefer to just wait and see what it does. Zoom in on the 1 minute chart. If I see the GDXJ or GDX and the silver at resistance, I'd zoom in and wait for a couple of candles to go sideways, and I would just drop my sell in there. Discovery, this one a bit like CDE. This one should be squeezing up. It hasn't done it so far, but I think it will have a late run. 70 is resistance, not just because of the recent high, but just, you know, you can see it here-ish, you know, ever since this candle is kind of, let me just do this. For me, it needs to close above 70 and then bam, we'll squeeze and probably encounter the descending line here, which is not just out of nowhere. Look at that. It's pretty important stuff. So that will definitely be resistance. So I'm just hoping, that's not a good strategy, but I'm just hoping it just sort of grinds higher, close above 70 and then just runs, and hopefully doesn't encounter this as resistance, the sort of 77 zone. I know that it's resistance, but I don't want to sell there. I actually want to gamble this one and hope that it goes into the 80s and starts to encounter resistance there. I think that would be a great move to sell into. If it does go lower, I mean, normally I would say 60 is support, but, you know, 60 is really weak support. I mean, you know, just underneath that, we're back at the absolute lows. And this would be strong support, but you wouldn't want to see that because it gives back the entire move, and then the miners probably haven't even gone down that much. So what if the miners actually start to lose more ground? Then we're right back down here, and the whole thing looks very weak, and you don't want to add to a very weak chart. You know, I know, oh, it can go up more than the others, but I prefer to buy EXK on a drop than Discovery, you know, because at least EXK, I can count that it's going to move up. Discovery, yeah, you could buy down here. It might not go much lower, but it's probably not going to go up too much either. So it's something that I think through the years of experience, I prefer to buy something that I'm sure is going to go up more rather than something that's gone down more just because it could go up more. So, but those are the levels I'm watching on the way up. And on the way down, like I said, let's just put it in this one, and the other one I've actually got in already with the horizontal. That's probably, yeah, that's the resistance from a long time ago breakout. So yeah, those are the levels for Discovery. Now I'm really looking at the juniors that I don't like. Now Trillium has, and I just figured this out today or yesterday, changed its name to Renegade Mining or something. So that'll resume trading on Monday under a different ticker. It should be the same chart, but don't know what to say about this. Hanging around the lows. This is what I mean by the juniors. You know, look at the sector. Some of them have risen 25%. This one's just whatever, like nothing's happened. So I don't even want to cover it. I just want it to go up so I can sell, to be honest. But I do think I know this stock a little bit. I think it's got a great thesis. It's just not represented in the chart. So maybe one day I wake up and it's just up 300%. So I don't want to have too many sells in place. But otherwise, the resistance, the descending line after that, we'll see. I don't want to go into it too much. On the way down, there's no support. There's just this 0.05 and then there's 0. So I really have very little in it. Turmalina, now this one at least goes up more than the other one. It's hanging around its lows as if there's been no breakout. On the way up, I see 25. Now you can get more, basically 28-ish, 20, because, you know, I don't want to put my sell in at 28.99 because this might be a very, very illiquid and fake selling point. So I prefer to put my sell in around 26.99 or 27.49 to make sure I get completely filled. So I think that's where my first sell is. After that, if it keeps going, we start to break out of this descending. So then it becomes very interesting. And then it was more about the 44, 45 zone, at which point I think I'm all out. So at the moment, I think I've got 2 sells and then that's it to cover the whole stock. Support is just 15, whatever, 50 and then 0, to be honest. So, and I've got no buys in anyway. Reyna silver. Now this one's done nothing like the others, but what I will say is I like this. I like this. First of all, it's a silver stock based in Mexico. I forget the Mexican part. A lot of them are in Mexico, but it's a silver stock, so it should be all the way up here. But I like this little curl. Look at this little. I can see a little. You know, if we start to have a little close above 1450, 0.145, we could have, bam, a little move to 17, which doesn't sound like much, but when it's these small numbers, you know, it's 20% in a day, easy. And if it runs any more than that, we can really have a pop up to the 20s, 20 and then 25. Resistance, I haven't changed these in weeks, so for me they're completely the same. The descending, there are 2 descendings because one of them stems from this area. It's not that accurate, is it? Something like that. And the other one starts from here. So, but anyway, this one could pop. This is a junior that I'm quite optimistic on in the very near term. USAU, this one I bought because I was late to a very late rally in the miners. Since then they came down, but it held. So I've always been in profit. I've sold these pops, traded it perfectly. Sold again 14.47 the other day. Now it's back down here. It's a weird one, but actually I feel like it could rally, and I'm closing my position on the next rally. I'm just gonna sell not this zone because I've actually sold it already. So I'll leave the horizontal line in because it's correct. It is resistance, but I'm not selling that. But I will be selling 479. 5 I'm not selling because I feel like if we're above 479, it's been such a while, it's probably going to rally more than 10-20 cents. So my next sell will be 519. And then I think I've got one last sell that I'll just drag and drop on the way up. GoGold Resources. This one's good. I wouldn't even consider it a junior, but another one that I bought late to the party. I think this is a fake candle. I don't know if it actually went up there. It's a strange one, but I expect this to go back up there, actually. So my sell is actually in for 129, I believe. For like a third out. If it keeps going, then 144 or something for a third out. And if it goes higher than that, it'll be the descending around I don't know, 150 something. So it's just gonna be out, out, out. Whole position close at the descending. Yes, of course, it will go higher long term, but the point of buying this one for me was just a late, just to take advantage of the mining stock rally that happened months ago. So I just got it wrong, or the mining stock rally fizzled out and then it went lower, but not by much because it really hadn't gone up much like the others. And now I'm already at break even. And to be honest, I'm in the money as soon as I'm at 129. So profit, 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 close position, and I'll buy back on a drop in some of the other miners that I'm more confident in. K92, this is just like GoGold, something I bought a few even months ago, 1 or 2 months ago, maybe, for a late rally. You can see it hadn't gone up in a while. I think it was down here-ish. And I kept on buying a little bit more here. And I'm basically green right now. I sold a little bit at 49. And, you know, it's at the same price. 643 is the same as 649. I think I got my next sell at 699. And after that, 649 for the 650 move, by which point we again encountered the descending, a bit like GoGold, very similar sort of chart. So don't mind, don't have much in it. I'm in the money, so very good. I won't be buying this back, although I do think it's a buy around, let's say 580, even no, $6, 601. If it goes lower than that, then it's again a buy, like 580. But for me, it's more of a sell on the pops because that's why I bought it. And finally, Silver Tiger. This is the last of the miners. Again, I bought it because it hadn't gone up like all the others a few months ago. I thought it'd be a late runner if the mining stocks continued, but they didn't. They fizzled out. So did this one. You can see it just grinds lower. I'm underwater. I think it's at 20 or something, my average, but I think in one day you can be at 20. And if it starts to continue to rise, then I keep selling. And in the end, I'll be able to close my position in the black, in the green. All right, that will do. That was exhausting. That's my portfolio. Obviously, you can see the juniors down here are still hanging around at the bottom. Typical story of the miners. The juniors just aren't participating in the rally. Some of the medium ones are also late, but some of them are really performing as they should. They're aggressive movers. Some of the silver medium ones, EXK, Fortuna, I like that. Hopefully, First Majestic can also do that. But otherwise, the seniors are acting well, some better than others. And yeah, let's see what happens. You know, I think we'll have a bit of a drop next week, 1 or 2 days sideways move really by the close, and then up we go. And then it starts to get very interesting because most people are late to the party. I prefer being, you know, the first person there with their little cup before everyone runs in a bit later. So anyway, I hope that was useful. Enjoy your weekend. And by the way, next week I'll be in Sardinia for 2 weeks. So I'll look to do more videos, but probably be a slightly different setup. Hopefully not too different. All right, enjoy.